Time for the press review. Back to tariffs. What surprise. Emily is looking through it. What are the papers saying about it then, Emily?
Yes, well, unsurprisingly, it's the only story that's been on most of the front pages worldwide. Particularly in The Guardian here, it's almost the only story on their front page. They say Trump pauses global trade war, but hits China with 125% tariffs. It's been called a pause by The Guardian, but also a U-turn by The Independent, as you can see here. Meanwhile, the tabloids have been having a little bit more fun with it. The Daily Mirror calls it erratic Trump's new gamble, great war of China. Now, maybe let's have a look at what the Chinese papers are saying and how they've been covering the story. The Chinese China Daily, there, a government-owned paper, featured, of course, the story on their front page. They say, quote, China hits back at US tariffs to defend rules-based trade. It says the government is ready to stand firm in defense of the multilateral trading system. The article calls Trump's latest move a mistake upon a mistake and a clear example of economic coercion. The Global Times, another state-run media outlet there, also had a rather defiant tone. It highlighted Chinese resilience and adds that China will not be intimidated by US protectionism. Now, the Hong Kong-based South China Morning Post, as you can imagine, also had it on their front page, but they had an interesting two-page spread in their paper about the potential impacts that a global trade war might have. The piece reads right up here, exporters ditch shipments in face of costs crunch. The article explains that Chinese exporters are abandoning their shipments mid-voyage at times and giving up their containers to avoid the crushing cost of tariffs. It says, Stuart, that Chinese companies are now looking to Europe and Japan for safer waters.
Going to take you to Germany for this next story. Coalition between the Conservatives and the Social Democrats has been established 5 months after the previous government collapsed. German papers, how are they reacting to that one?
Yes, well, Germany is perhaps one of the only countries that isn't suffering quite as badly of Trump and tariff mania on their front pages. The Bild here, a tabloid, it says black and red coalition is rolling, referring, of course, to the black of the Conservative CDU party and the red of the Social Democrats SPD party. It's also apparently a reference and a play on words to a Haribo sweet packet with red and black sweets that's very popular in Germany. I didn't know that. The Rheinische Post here says it's the hour of agreement and it speaks of relief in North Rhine-Westphalia. Meanwhile, the Frankfurter Allgemeine says that the talks have ended. It describes Friedrich Merz's coalition as brave but uncomfortable. It says the Conservatives and the Social Democrats are going to have to compromise, especially on migration policy. The article says that Merz could be elected as Chancellor in the beginning of May. Meanwhile, the Tagesspiegel has a slightly more critical take on the story. It asks on its front page, will the coalition be strong enough for the world's crises? It argues that the two parties now in coalition will have to seriously water down some of their campaign promises and that those policy differences might weaken the strength of the coalition government.
Always good to have a sweet analogy. Now, the world increasingly relies on data centres for their data processing capabilities. The trouble is, where do you put them? Emily's got the answer. It's a little unusual, isn't it?
Yes, exactly. Well, this is news in the BBC that an American company is planning to send their data centres to the moon. The question is why? Well, with the increasing use of AI worldwide, the demand for data centres is skyrocketing, quite literally, but it's getting hard to find places to put them, mainly because they take up so much space and they also use an incredible amount of water for cooling. And The Guardian is actually focusing on that water problem in this piece. Their investigation reveals that Amazon, Google and Microsoft are building water-thirsty data centers in some of the world's driest regions. Amazon, for example, is planning 3 new data centers in the Aragon region of northern Spain, which would be licensed to use 750,000 cubic meters of water a year. Activists say that the centers are effectively drying up their rivers, which risks exacerbating their local water crises.
Brought that news of Paris Saint-Germain and their win last night in the Champions League, and Emily's got all the reaction in the papers.
Yes, well, a lot of celebration in the papers and in our newsroom here at France 24 as well. But the Equipe says, coup de génie, or a strike of genius, referring, of course, to the 3 magnificent goals which won Paris Saint-Germain the game over Birmingham's Villains. The mood was a bit more bitter in the UK, as you can imagine. The Daily Mirror here with quite a sad pun. Eiffel sour, I mean, the word play as painful as the loss, probably. And in Spain, they're celebrating a festival and Barcelona's win over Dortmund by 4 goals.
And finally, Emily's going to end with a bit of a British classic, but a British classic that's been modernised, it's gone high-tech. What is it?
Yes, well, the Royal Mail in the UK has announced that they are unveiling a futuristic mailbox, or the postbox of the future, in what they call the biggest change in design in 175 years. The new postbox includes a scanner, solar panels, an extra-large opening hatch for parcels. I think it still functions as a dog toilet, but I think they should probably add phone chargers and maybe AI postcard generators to make it more complete.
Exactly. One day, you never know, could be on the cards. Emily, thanks a lot. Emily Ball there with the latest papers for us here on France 20.